It's so exciting going into this new adventure and having all these other opportunities. It is still difficult.
Starting from scratch, I think, is what scares a lot of us.
Exactly. Show me then another way or another door, because this is not working out, so something is on its way.
God is so gracious that he actually will put you in a situation that will cause you to seek him and cause you to actually get in alignment with what he has for you. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of The Huddle. For those of you who don't recognize me, my name is Kelitah. And for the last time, I'm not here alone. We had so much fun with our last episode, so we had to bring this special guest back.
Thank you for having me back.
So we have Chandré here. Lovely human being. If you have not watched the previous episode, that's rude. You should go watch the other one. But we are here and we're going to talk about a really cool subject. So guys, this is actually my last podcast with I Am, and it's kind of crazy. It's like 4 years have flown by so quickly. And yeah, we're going to be talking about learning to deal with saying goodbye. So yeah, I think it's weird, man. This is super weird. But I think, we all are going to go through this kind of season. I thought about it. It is December. Matrics are starting a new journey. They're finishing their journeys with, their friends of the season. A lot of people are maybe going to be studying in Stellenbosch and the other one is studying in Pretoria, and there's a lot of goodbyes that we're gonna have to say. There's a lot of separation, and dealing with transitioning and new seasons is not easy.
Not at all.
So I wanted us to have a conversation about this, and I think this is a perfect time because I think you're in a transition of your own.
I am.
Would you tell us about that transition?
So I am finishing up at the University of Tux, and then I'm transitioning into becoming a missionary. I want to go into full-time ministry with missions. So it's also a season of transitioning from student into making this grown-up decision.
That's good.
Which is essentially, you can't say this is for the rest of your life, but it's a new season and you can feel it, so you want to at least make a good decision. So I just feel God calling me back to ministry. So that's what I'm transitioning from full-time student on Tux, going over to UNISA to finish up my degrees and study further, but that just gives me the flexibility of then being able to go into ministry. So
I would like to ask, how did you know that this is the season for you to say goodbye to the way you're so used to doing varsity and going into this new venture? How did you know that, okay, cool, this is the time, Because I think, I'll say this, it's very easy for us to kind of get trapped in the norm of things that we're
everyday cycle,
okay, there's no point, I've done this for so long, there's no point in me trying to rock the boat or be fancy, let me just follow this way of life. And I think we do that in relationships. I think we do that when it comes to, for people who are working. I've been here for 4 years, I might as well just continue being here. It's something familiar, So how did you know that instead of, because it's girls 1 year, right? You only have 1 year left. How did you decide that, okay, instead of me just finishing like a normal student, that this is the end of my varsity life as I know it, and I'm going to transition into something new? How did you know that this was something that God was actually calling you to?
I think there was just a stirring in my heart. When things get uncomfortable. Where you're at. And things get frustrating and I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't want to give up. I don't want to run away. But what is this stirring in my heart? Is it you that's calling me back into ministry, or is it just me, my flesh being uncomfortable and not wanting to continue at university like a normal everyday student.
Yeah.
And then things start stirring, and I think over the last, let's say this last month, more and more and more people will kind of, if I can say it like that, call out my purpose and calling. And I'm like, wow, like I've been praying
about that
thing. Like, Lord, should I stay or should I go back to ministry?
That's good.
Like, and then people that I don't know, I know of them, but I don't know them personally, would start calling it out and being like, girl, I see you doing this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, then this is the Lord speaking.
Say no more.
So I think at the end, then it becomes, I want to almost call it like unbearable, where it's like so in your face the whole time when I'm like, okay, this is the Lord speaking.
Yeah, he's like shouting at you now.
People are literally... I heard you today, and then someone else tells me again in 2 days' time. Okay, Lord, I hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
I hear you. So, and I just think, I'm still continuing university, just on an online version. And I feel like if the Lord closes one door, he's going to open another door.
That's good.
And it was difficult. I should say that as well. It was... I remember when I had to sit with my modules and like deregister some modules because I know I'm going to continue at UNISA. It was the most difficult decision to deregister for those modules because I'm like, this feels like I'm giving up. This feels like I'm setting myself up for failure. Like I'm scared that I'm going to feel like a failure if I walk out of this. Because when you start at one place, you would kind of like to think that you're going to end it there.
That's good.
So even though I knew like there's so many other avenues and so many other doors going to go like open up, me going back to ministry, me being able to run my clothing business, like I'm going to have so much more freedom and still be able to study. It was still a very difficult decision to make because it felt like I was giving up on my first option. And like, I'm just so grateful for my community around me that's like, you're not giving up. This is literally just the Lord opening up another door for you.
That's good.
But so even it's so exciting going into this new adventure and having all these other opportunities, it is still difficult. And I think there's many people that's going to say, oh, but it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. And I'm like, okay, cool. It is. I'm so excited for this opportunity, but it is also okay to be like, it doesn't feel okay. I don't like it. It feels
scary.
Like it's very scary. Like the unknown. I think the unknown. If you're so used to doing it daily, this is what I do. I wake up, I do this, and now there's this whole shift. And I do believe like life isn't always going to be comfortable. Like that is the beauty and the excitement of it. That life is. There's going to be times where you're uncomfy.
100%.
And not doubting, but like, should I do this? Should I not this? But that's where the Lord blesses you with community that's gonna encourage you and call you out and be like, here's the truth, this and this and this. So
I think that's you said something so powerful. Like there is security in what we know. There is safety in like what we know, what we are sure about. And I think that's also something that it was very difficult for me to come to the decision. In fact, I think I've been thinking about this decision about leaving for probably a year now. And just not quite being like the right time exactly.
Timing is everything.
And I think that, it's always scary, especially when you've built something. It's another thing. It's another level. You invested a lot.
You did.
In, building something. And now you're like, okay, I feel like the Lord is calling me to a new place. And, starting from scratch, I think is what scares a lot of us.
Exactly.
Starting to make friends from scratch after leaving your high school. And now you're in varsity, no one. Starting a new relationship after a breakup.
Yes.
Starting from scratch, starting a new job or creating your own business after leaving a job. Scary stuff. Starting from scratch is not easy, but I think sometimes God calls us to that. And I think starting from scratch, especially when you start getting older, starts to freak us out because there's an expectation for us to be in certain levels in certain seasons, right?
So true.
And sometimes we do have to demolish the building and start again.
Exactly.
Right?
Clean slate.
You know what I'm saying? If there are cracks everywhere in this house, if it's not structurally sound, sometimes you need to leave the building. And sometimes you need to leave the building, but there's nothing wrong with the building. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the building. There's nothing wrong with the company. There's nothing wrong with the friendship that you have right now, but God is calling you to something different.
Exactly.
And I think those are also experiences where it's difficult to leave. And I think that's also why it's difficult for me to leave right now. Like, I know that I Am is such a beautiful platform. We've built, it's something established. It's doing such great things.
Yeah.
People are being touched.
Yeah.
You know, the quality is qualitying. Side note. But, you know, there's just a call, there's an expectation from God for me in this season where he's calling me to something different.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But I think it's necessary for us to trust in the Lord more than our fear of starting over. Because if God is calling you to a new path, if God is calling you to something new, if God is calling you to start from scratch, it's not because he doesn't have a plan in mind for you. It doesn't mean that he's not going to provide for you. But I think when we are walking in obedience, there's a level of favor and a level of, you know, just God showing up for you in ways that you could never imagine just because of your obedience.
So good. That's really good.
Yeah, man. What is your advice to someone who's like, I'm super scared. I know that God is calling me to something new, but I'm terrified and I don't want to take the leap. How did you get through your fear of starting again?
I think to go back on the promises that God gave me, or like the visions or the plan that he gave me, to hold on to that is a good, well, I think that's the main point. Because if you're not stepping into a season and you're not 100% sure that the Lord is sending you, somewhere along the line something is going to be bad and you're not going to be able to, or not going to be able to hold on to it, but it's going to be difficult to hold on to it, because there's going to be difficulties, like 100%. Difficult times, even if you're going to a new job or school or friend group or whatever. If when the times get tough, you need to be able to hang on to that promise. Like, Lord, you sent me.
Yes.
You told me to do this.
Yes.
So that's why, even though it's difficult, I'm going to hang on to this because you told me to do this. I also think, because many people are like, I don't want to do this on my own. And I think a healthy, good community, that is also so important, because you've got your parents, you've got your siblings, you've got your family, and of course their opinions are super important, but there's going to be times where you're not with your parents. Let's say you live, like I'm in Pretoria, my parents are down in George, where I'm from. They can't be with me 24/7. So having a good and healthy community is so important. So that is where I would say is hanging on to the promise and the dream that the Lord gave you, and surrounding yourself with a healthy and good community, because when times get tough, they can also be like, but the Lord told you to do this. They can pray with you, they can fast with you, they can go into this with you, they can encourage you, they can pull you up. And there's times where they're going to be like, okay, cool, let's cry this out. But also, let's celebrate this moment. There are times where you're going to have to celebrate. And don't go into something new alone. Like, that is so important. Like, the Lord blessed me with an amazing group of friends this year that I've been praying for like 4 years. So, and like, even just being able to tell them, listen, I got a new job, or I got a new sale at the business, or I'm in for university. Like, it's just the small moments where people can also just experience and see how the Lord is really blessing you.
That's good.
So,
I think that's absolutely beautiful. You know, we do need people around us. We need community. We need, and that gives you confidence, right? Like, I feel like it's like, you know, when you're going to school for the first time as a toddler and your mom is like holding your hand to take you to class every day until one day you have the confidence, you've built those relationships in your class and you have a friend or whatever, and you don't need that support as much, you know. I think that's a beautiful thing that, you know, even if you don't have that community, that God is the one who's walking you to your first day of school and you can say, God, I'm scared. I don't want to start from scratch.
Exactly.
I'm scared of what's lying ahead. I'm scared of transitioning, but I know that you're with me. So give me the confidence to do what I need to do in this new space. And I think I just want to give like an example. I remember when I went to varsity, so I didn't study in SA. I went overseas to study, and guys, if that's a transition,
that is a big transition.
It's a big transition. Major. And I remember like, oh my gosh, I'm also not an extrovert. So I don't, you're probably shocked right now.
I am. I'm pretty shocked.
I'm a very socialized introvert. Okay. So I can have conversations with people. I do that better when I meet people one by one.
Yeah.
I don't do good in crowds.
Yeah.
Then I get a bit overwhelmed. But I know that I am an introvert. And I was like, Jesus, I have to make new friends. In a whole other country. Oh my gosh, I don't even like speaking to people in my own hometown. Now I must be like, hi, how are you? Where are you from? Oh my gosh. But like that was a very difficult season for me, like to walk into. But I think what was really cool about God is that he just orchestrated things so well for you. And I think that's the beauty about moving in the grace that God has given you, right?
Yeah.
He makes things sometimes very easy, you know. He makes things flow well. And I just remember saying like, Lord, you're going to have to help me make friends because you're
Still love of mine, bro.
Please, Jesus, you know me. You know my heart. And I remember just in the line for registration, there was a girl who was behind me and I don't know, there was someone who was like, oh, the girl behind you is from Canada. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then I just started talking.
Thank you for that info.
I just started talking to a girl from Canada and she kind of had the same personality as me. So we were just kind of like quiet, but we were vibing. She's like, oh, do you want to come to Starbucks with me? And I'm like, okay, sure, let's go to Starbucks. And she's like, oh my gosh, do you want to come to my room with me? Like, do you want to come up to my dorm room? And then like I just made so many friends just from that interaction. And it was just like, you know, sometimes we psych ourselves out of opportunities because we're just so scared of things that shouldn't be scary at all if you really think about it, right? And I think that for some people, you know, a new adventure is something exciting. But I know for a lot of people, something new is something absolutely terrifying. And I just want to say to those people, remember that God is with you. And if God brought you there, he will bring you through the place.
Exactly.
Even if you're scared, remember that God hasn't given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So that's one thing that I like. I quote it all the time. Every time I feel scared or anxious, I'm like, God has not given me a spirit of fear. God has not given me a spirit of fear. And just allow that word to sit in your heart and meditate on that. I wanted to get to this point of the conversation because I'm really actually excited for this. Okay. I feel like sometimes we don't end up leaving when God tells us to leave and bad things happen. What do you think are the consequences of like overstaying your welcome in a place? You know what I'm saying?
Girl, that is a loaded question. Overstaying your welcome. Overstaying your welcome, or more of like I'm stepping out without God's.
Yeah, like maybe it could even be the fact that you know that God has called you to something new, but you're so terrified that you stay. Or maybe you don't even hear the signs that God has been pulling you to do something new, and you just completely miss the sign. Yeah.
Overstaying your welcome, I think in my instance, I just felt this stirring in my heart. It wasn't necessarily like this klapharde stem, like speaking to me. It's, you get this stirring in your heart, and it kind of feels uncomfy, like things just keep on happening the exact same way. And I'm like, why is it happening the exact same way?
Sure.
And then looking back now, I can almost say like that was the Lord's way of kind of shoving me into this direction. And it's not gonna maybe almost like happen with everyone, that things start getting uncomfy.
Sure.
You're gonna start feeling something in your heart. Maybe it's not maybe like uncomfy or whatever.
Sure.
But in my instance, I just felt like things started happening exactly the same way.
Sure.
Exactly like
you're stuck in a cycle.
And it just doesn't get better. It feels like there's no solution. And then I'm like, it feels like the most terrible thing that I'm going through now. It feels like I'm failing this subject with the exact same mark. And like, why can't I just pass this module? And if I look back, I'm like, what if that was the Lord's way of just like pushing me? And I'm not saying it can sound so bad if I say that, but really like good. In my instance, that is what happened with me. And then I was like, okay, Lord, what is going on? You're like, this is not working. This is clearly not working out. So show me then another way or another door, because this is not working out. So something is on its way.
Sure.
So if I can like speak out of my experience with overstaying my welcome, I just started like literally I failed my one module with the exact same mark.
That's
with every
crazy.
Taste. And up until the point where I had to do my year over, and still happening.
Sure.
And then I was like, okay, Lord, this is something is not working. Like this recipe is not working for this cake. I'm walking around this mountain so many times. So then there must be another way. There must be another door. Like he's not gonna shut one door and then not open you another door.
Sure.
So if it comes to overstaying your welcome, in my instance, I had this uncomfy feeling in my heart, and things just kept on happening the exact same way, where there was literally no other choice then.
You had to move on.
I had to move on.
Sure.
So yeah,
I think that frustration thing is very heavy. Like I think, I was kind of, recently I just went to a conference and I just realized that I've been walking so far away from what God has called me to do. And sometimes you can be on the right track, but not exactly.
Exactly.
So I'll say it in a broad sense, like I know that I've been called to minister through song and worship, right?
That's so good.
But like there's a specific way that God has wired me to do that. And even though I'm singing in a worship team, I can still be going away from the way that God has wired me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is so true.
So I just realized a lot of things in this season. I was like, oh my goodness, I understand why I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that happens when you don't take that new step when God is calling you out is you feel stopped. You feel like there is something in you that really like dies.
So true.
I just got so revived when I was just at that conference recently, and like God was just revealing so much to me, and how I have stopped that flow because I was not willing to start from scratch. I wasn't willing to be weird. I wasn't willing to be like, okay, cool, I know this is how God has made me and I'm different to everyone else, but I'm gonna be standing on business. This is how God created me, and this is how I'm going to flow in life. I think that is one thing that will happen. I think also just frustrations on everyone's side. Let's say in relationships, you'll be frustrated with me. I'm frustrated with you. God has told me 2 months ago that we must stop being friends.
Exactly.
And there's just this clash and contention that will happen. Those kind of things are, results of us not being obedient. I kind of think of Jonah.
He went through hell and back.
He was like God was like, I need you to say goodbye to where you are right now. I want you to go to Nineveh and I want you to say this message that I have for these people. And he was like, nah, bro. Absolutely not. And he ran away from that. And what was the result? The result was that he was literally in stagnation. He was stuck in that whale until I'm sure that guy was like, okay, you win. I'll go talk to them.
I'll do it.
I'll go talk to them. It's fine. The whale spits you out, you know, it's a place of frustration. I can only imagine how terrible it was, how it stank, like it was dark, it was nasty in there, like, oh my gosh, I can only imagine how uncomfortable it was. Not only for Jonah, I'm sure the whale was
like, I'm done.
Bro, get out.
Can you listen? I want you out now.
Like, I'm done with you. You don't taste nice. Thank you. Get out. Go do what God called you to do.
Exactly.
But I think a lot of us get stuck like that. God calls us to something new and we get so fearful, or we get so arrogant, or we get so in our own way, and we're like, that's not part of the plan, God. And we just force our own way. We create havoc around us. And God is so gracious that he actually will put you in a situation that will cause you to seek him and cause you to actually get in alignment with what he has for you. Because at the end of the day, when Jonah brought that message to the people of Nineveh, he saved those people because they got so fearful of God that they started repenting, and they repented of their sin, and God didn't destroy them. So I think what we forget sometimes is that God has called us to places for a reason outside of ourselves. And you know, when we are disobedient, it doesn't just affect us, it affects the people that he sent you there for. And I just want us to be encouraged, like, do the thing that God called you. Like, just do what God has called you to do, because at the end of the day, it's not only for your good, it's for the good of people who are around you. It's for the people that God called you to. And you know, God is not going to leave you by yourself. I don't know. We are almost at the end of this little party. I don't know if you want to add something, or if there's something in your heart.
I just feel like when you was like saying about Jonah, like the Lord met him literally at the bottom of the barrel. Like the Lord is gonna, like you also said, I want to add on to that. Like he's gonna put you in situations, and things are gonna happen. Because he's literally like, I'm here, like, where am I? Ek is hierso.
Yeah.
And I think just he's going to meet you there. And that is going to be, he's not going to just leave you in the belly of the whale.
Yeah.
He's going to meet you there, and he's going to pull you out.
Yeah.
It's just, it's easier said than done, but just to then keep your ears and your eyes open to what God wants to tell you. So he's never going to leave you nor forsake you. He's going to meet you in the belly of the whale. He's going to pull you out, and he's going to walk this road with you.
Amen.
Through hell and back, if you want to call it like that. He's going to be there. So sometimes it does, and it is easier said than done, and it does feel more difficult to, it's people are going to be like, maar is makkelijker gesê as gedoen. Maar that's where, like, your faith, you're going to have to keep on to that promise, what the Lord promised you right in the beginning.
Right in the belly of the whale. Yo, guys, this
He's going to meet you there. He's going to take you.
So good. I just want to thank you for being on the party with me, for spending my last one here.
I feel so honored. Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you guys who have been watching, who have been tuned in. It is not easy to say goodbye, but I want to say thank you so much for supporting, for your comments, for your likes. I pray that God really used this platform to help you. And there's just so many beautiful people here at I Am. There's so much to learn from them. So I hope that you continue learning and staying on the podcast. Keep watching out for V and Aaron, and soon to be someone else maybe. But I just want to thank you for the time that you guys have had with me. And to Given, my co-host that hasn't been here for a while, thank you for the opportunity, for just building something that's really cool and has taught me a lot. So I just want to thank you guys for this awesome couple of years. It's been 4 years in the making.
Sure.
And we are going to say for the last time, peace out.